30% off at the Emporium going out of business sale. Plus, for 3 days only, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, take an extra 10% off your entire purchase. That's an extra 10% off already low discounted prices. Find new price reductions. Get 30% off the entire stock of men's, women's, and children's active, casual, and dress shoes. 30% off all Missy, Petite, and plus-size sportswear separates from Relativity. Get total liquidation savings on everything at the Emporium going out of business sale today.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer.
Good morning. Did the U.S. get Saddam? That is the question being asked at the Pentagon today, Thursday, March 20th, 2003. And welcome to this special edition of Today on a Thursday morning. I'm Matt Lauer at Central Command Headquarters in Qatar. Katie is back in New York, and she's holding down the fort there. Katie, good morning.
Matt, good morning to you. Of course, it's 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. The U.S. bombing of Baghdad started Wednesday evening about 9:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 a.m. in Baghdad. This initial U.S. attack on the city was aimed at a target of opportunity after the CIA told President Bush that Saddam and his top military leaders were meeting at a house there. The initial bombing used about 36 Tomahawk missiles launched from Navy ships and submarines in the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea and bombs from stealth fighter jets. Saddam appeared to deliver a defiant address on Iraqi television after the attack, but officials say they don't know if it was in fact Saddam himself. Here is the latest. U.S. officials are now analyzing the speech. They are using voice printing technology to determine if it was, in fact, the Iraqi leader. Meanwhile, the president is meeting with Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Richard Myers this morning. Matt?
Katie, after being attacked last night, Iraq has fired back, firing missiles at U.S. forces and Kuwait City. 2 of those missiles, we understand, were intercepted by U.S. Patriot missiles. Another 2 fell in northern Iraq and in the Bay, in northern Kuwait and the Bay of Kuwait. We have no reports to this point that there were chemical or biological weapons on any of those missiles. We also have no reports of injuries as a result of those missiles striking the ground. However, we will tell you and can tell you that some U.S. forces have had to put on protective gear on and off throughout this day, Katie.
All right, Matt, thanks. Let's begin this morning with the latest on the battle plans from NBC's Jim Miklashevsky at the Pentagon. Mick, good morning.
Good morning, Katie. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag so far in bomb damage assessment and trying to figure out exactly how last night's pinpoint airstrike in Baghdad may have affected battle plans or the battlefield in Iraq. You know, one senior official here at the Pentagon said, look, you know, almost disappointedly, there have been no mass defections as a result of this yet, but they continue to insist that there is some intelligence to indicate that the cracks in the Iraqi regime, both in the civilian and the military, appear to be widening. It's been the hope for some time that the U.S. could avoid a war altogether if the senior military leadership within Baghdad could be convinced that Saddam Hussein is going down one way or the other, and that they should take him out to avoid a war. But there's still no firm sign that can happen. Meanwhile, here at the Pentagon today, they're now trying to figure out, after that ad lib last night, which was totally off the war script, in going after Baghdad in advance of a larger invasion, they're trying to figure out here today exactly how that will affect the entire larger invasion plan. So those are the kinds of things that are being discussed. It could actually accelerate the plan, especially over the fact that the Iraqis are, in fact, targeting U.S. troops in Kuwait with their Al-Samud missiles. Katie?
All right, Jim Miklashevsky at the Pentagon. Mick, thank you. NBC's David Gregory is at the White House with the view from there. David, good morning.
Good morning to you, Katie. Thus far from Ari Fleischer, the president's spokesman, the president refusing to characterize the war so far. His spokesman saying that he is not going to give a blow-by-blow description. He just simply noted, the president did, that this is underway. We have the first picture coming from the White House this morning. The president, who got his first briefing at 6 a.m., huddled after 7 a.m. with the CIA Director George Tenet, the Vice President Dick Cheney, and others in the Oval Office. You see the Chief of Staff Andrew Card over the President's shoulder getting an overnight assessment of this initial strike on Iraq. There is a lot of analysis still being done by intelligence agencies. White House officials saying this morning they make no conclusions. They draw no conclusions about the videotape that the world has seen now that purports to show Saddam Hussein reporting to his country and indeed the world, spewing invective toward the United States. White House officials saying they simply draw no conclusions about whether that is Saddam Hussein, when that tape was made, if it is authentic. The president will continue to make phone calls to world leaders today, as he did yesterday. They also indicated that in terms of actually ordering this strike, it was an execute order that was signed by the president. That was formal notification that this strike was authorized. Katie.
David Gregory at the White House. Thanks to you, David. And now here's Matt in Qatar.
Katie, thank you very much. As you can imagine, it's been a nerve-wracking day for U.S. forces stationed in northern Kuwait, poised, ready to attack, just waiting for the order. Dana Lewis is stationed with the 101st Airborne Division in northern Kuwait, and he joins us now. Dana?
Hi, Matt. It's been a nerve-wracking 20 minutes here, actually. What we had is some sort of intelligence information apparently was spread around this camp that there would be a large barrage, an attack from Iraq. This was not a drill. That information was spread. We were told immediately to come down to these bunkers, which we did. Soldiers who had been by the hundreds in the dining halls were told to go out, take their gas masks, put on bulletproof vests and helmets, and get down to these bunkers. We did so. The alarm sounded, and then we were given an all clear. At first, we donned the gas mask only for a few minutes this time, and then they have just given us an all clear, and people have left these bunkers. Now, this is the second time we had to do it today. As you know, when they had the initial attacks this morning, this base and all of the other ones out here in the desert had to go through the same situation as in Kuwait City. We had our gas masks on for quite a long time, and there was fear about those incoming missiles. And as the Patriots went out, you could actually hear several large bangs over the horizon. We assume that they were Patriots on the way out, although there's no way to definitely know that. But again, Matt, we've just gone through this here. They told us to get in the bunkers. There would be incoming missiles and possibly an American response, and now they have just called that down. They have just called that down and told the soldiers they can go out of the bunkers, which they've now done. Matt?
All right, Dana Lewis with the 101st Airborne Division in northern Kuwait. Let's find out if those types of reports have been spread around that particular area. David Bloom is with the 3rd Infantry. They're also in northern Kuwait. David, did you hear any kind of similar reports that we just heard from Dana Lewis?
Not recently, but several hours ago, Matt, we had a similar episode here where we heard 2 whooshes, which the soldiers later told us was likely the Patriot missile batteries firing at those Iraqi Scud missiles or the El-Samoods, or perhaps a U.S. artillery strike in response. And then we heard the horn beeping 3 times, and that's the signal to run and don your gas mask. The soldiers took off, we took off, they grabbed their gas masks, but they went to the level MOP 4, which is the highest level of protection, which Dana was alluding to in terms of the chemical suits, the gloves, the boots, the gas masks themselves. Now, I should tell you that, there have definitely been a stepped-up activity here in the last couple of hours, because between the exchange of the U.S. cruise missiles heading for Baghdad and Saddam Hussein, which we could literally see and hear flying over us here with the troops along the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border, between that and the Iraqi response firing at least those 2 missiles, there's certainly more tension in the air, if you will. In the last couple hours, we've seen the crews loading their grenades into some of their vehicles. We've seen soldiers working on their weapons. We've seen the tanks moving about. As we've said for the last day or so, we're in the attack position here in along the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border. So they're already ready to go. But whereas this morning, even after the reports of the cruise missile strikes, the initial strikes, the commanders were telling us, look, this is just a pinprick. This is the pre-war, pre-battle phase. One commander called it the Operation Southern Watch on steroids, by which he meant it's just more of the same sort of law enforcement that they've been doing in terms of the northern and southern no-fly zones. clearly it's a different mood here tonight as we now approach, well, about 10 minutes after 6 o'clock in the evening here along the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border. Matt?
All right, David Bloom in northern Kuwait. David, thank you very much. Last night, of course, the center of activity was Baghdad in Iraq. Today, as we've just heard, Kuwait has been the center of activity. Brian Williams of NBC News is in Kuwait City. He has more on that. Brian, good afternoon to you.
Matt, good afternoon. And this is not the way Kuwaitis thought the war would begin for them. Yes, there were several preparedness drills here and talk about buying gas masks for the people, but our day started with 2 loud concussions and then sirens. We heard the sirens a total of 6 times here, 3 and 3. 3 signals that there was incoming and then 3 all clears. We also found in looking at the people that safety was largely socioeconomic. Those who had the gas masks wore them and used them, and those who did not continued walking down the streets. I saw one tour bus stop, and its entire contents, all the passengers, came to our hotel for safety. The Bush White House, speculation here, is probably not going to like this image of seeing what Kuwaitis were forced to put up with today, what with the size of the U.S. contingent here. And we could, of course, it's been speculated, be seeing some activity as night continues to fall on this region. Matt?
And Brian, you talked about those people who can afford gas masks are using them and have them. Are they even available? I mean, are they readily available? Can you get them if you want them?
You can. There was a move afoot here. The population of this nation is 2.4 million. There was a move afoot to buy several 100,000 after a promise that everyone who wanted one, a la Israel, would have one. But it goes back to expectations. Few people woke up this morning actually thinking that anything from Iraq would land inside this country. And while there's debate over whether it was a missile in its entirety or a fragment or whether they got it all, it did happen.
All right, Brian Williams, who's in Kuwait City. Brian, thanks very much. Let's head back up to New York and check back in with Katie.
Okay, Matt, thank you so much. We want to get some perspective now on the initial phases of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Retired General Barry McCaffrey served as an infantry commander during the Persian Gulf War. He's now an NBC analyst. And retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General Michael Short served as a commander during Operation Allied Force in the skies over Serbia. He's also now an NBC News analyst. General Short and General McCaffrey, good morning. Nice to see you both.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning because a lot of people on the West Coast are just getting enough right now. First off, surprised when you heard about the surgical strike over that during that moment of opportunity of a target in Baghdad?
Well, you know, first of all, it's a statement of enormous flexibility of General Tommy Franks and his ability to take naval and air power and do something new with it on short notice. This Iraqi military is run by fear. If we could decapitate the leadership, and I'm talking about the top 40, 50 military people also, the whole thing might unravel. So it was a splendid demonstration of daring.
A splendid demonstration, but ultimately a failure, or who knows at this point?
I don't think we know yet. We certainly have satellite photography at this point of the target area. We'll know if we blew up the bunker, and I'm betting that we did blow up the bunker. But we don't know who was inside yet, and we don't know how successful we were on, quite frankly, killing the men that were inside.
So there will have to be a BDA or a bomb damage assessment, and for that, military officials will use satellite photos. I think we have one from 1991 that will give people an example of what they actually will be monitoring.
Katie, we'll use satellite photos. We may have put Global Hawk, which is the high-altitude unmanned capability. We'll probably use electronic eavesdropping, if you will, and we'd like to have someone inside to tell us what happened. Someone close to Saddam Hussein who knows.
What about this whole notion of voice print analysis, that the man who was on the videotape wasn't Saddam Hussein? Is that wishful thinking, or you think a distinct possibility?
Well, they'll bring all the data they've got to bear on the thing. You know, he's alleged to have 8 or 9 body doubles. Who knows who the real Saddam is? I hope it wasn't the guy on TV. He wasn't looking too good. But I think the real concern here is the top leadership of the Iraqi Armed Forces and the Ba'athist Party of the target. It's not just one man.
Right, and it was interesting to hear how the Pentagon has been targeting them through a direct email campaign and even making phone calls.
We did the same thing with Milosevic.
Really?
Same thing in Serbia. We sent emails to the commander. It was. We started having them picking up the phones yelling at us, saying, stop, stop.
Did you wear them down, though,
I think
ultimately,
we did
some
to
of
some
them?
degree. I think we did. You put doubt in their mind, Katie. What is it the Americans cannot do? If they can reach me on my email and reach me by phone on my unlisted number, is there anything they cannot do?
So it's a psychological
You
thing.
bet.
The F-117 stealth fighters, as well as Tomahawk cruise missiles, were used in this initial offensive. You flew an F-117, and tell me exactly what that aircraft can do and why it was used.
Well, first of all, it's our first stealth platform, so it's very, very effective against air defense capability. It can get in and not be seen. It carries two 2,000-pound penetrating bombs, and my thought process is we used 2 of these aircraft to break through the bunker, hopefully get to the very depths of the bunker. Then we brought in cruise missiles with 1,000-pound warheads and probably a combination of cluster bombs to cover the area. To get inside the bunker and blow off inside it, and parking lots, any place there might be vehicles, essentially blanket the area with cluster bombs, having achieved penetration with the 117, dropping laser-guided bombs. Young men flying by themselves with a picture of the target on their knee, comparing that target to what they see on their screen, getting the bomb in the air, putting a laser spot on that target, and guiding it until the bomb strikes.
It's probably worth pointing out that during the first Gulf War, 10% of the weapon systems were so-called smart bombs, the 90% so-called dumb bombs.
Yes.
Now that's been reversed,
Exactly
hasn't it?
reversed, yes.
And not just in the Air Force. I mean, Naval Air has gone for the whole generation, and Army Apache longbow now, for example, is in a new technological capability.
We are so much more precise, so much more accurate.
How will that affect, quote-unquote, collateral damage or civilian casualties in your view?
Well, I think it's going to allow us to do a much better job. We would be lying to the American public, though, if we stood here and said we're not going to have any collateral damage and we're not going to kill any civilians, because those things are going to occur. But commanders are in a much better position to control it, to match munitions with a target, and quite frankly, to not target a part of the building where they think there might be civilians, but just to pick the third-floor apartment on the right-hand corner.
It's pretty amazing what they can do. Before we talk about the overall battle plan and how it's been impacted by last night's event, let's talk about these Al-Samud missiles, which are apparently the guilty parties when it comes to what they're lobbying into Kuwait City and Kuwait. Initially, it was thought that they were Scuds, but now they're those famous, by now, Al-Samud missiles. They've destroyed 72 of the 120 declared in Iraq. But they do have capabilities to carry biological or chemical weapons in their warhead. They go 93 miles, is that right? Or they actually go more than the 93 miles
but they were limited to
mandated by the
150
UN.
kilometers, which is 90 miles. That's
How big a concern are those to U.S. troops in Kuwait?
Well, a big concern. You know, if they have VX nerve agent in them or potential biological weapons, they'd have a potential major impact. I might add, though, Katie, at this stage of the campaign, the first 48 hours, these troops are going to harass themselves to death. They'll get sick of it in about 2 days, and they won't go into MOP protective gear, their protective mask, unless their alarms tell them they're actually under attack. Right now, the jitter factor is real high.
Also, Katie, I personally think that for Saddam to shoot chemicals and bugs in the very first salvo, when the French have said, if you have chemical weapons introduced, we'll be on your side, he's got a plan, and I think that would be a mistake to show his hand this early.
Because many people think if he does use those weapons, it will be at the end. He'll go down in flames.
And people will come to our side, they will slap their foreheads and say, my goodness, George Bush was right, he does have this stuff and he's using it. I don't think he'll use it early. I think he'll save it for the Battle of Baghdad.
General Short, where do we go from here? We obviously have heard about the shock and awe, portion of this campaign, which we expected to be the very beginning of it. So is it likely when night falls that that plan will be put in operation?
Katie, I think so. I think we will stay the course. When I was a bit younger, I worked for a great Army four-star, a peer of General McCaffrey's, George Jalwin, the commander in Europe. And we'd all be panicking because something wasn't going well, and he'd say, steady, boys, steady. I think that's what Tommy Franks is saying right now. We've got a good plan. We've worked it over a year. The President has approved it. Secretary Rumsfeld has approved it. Let's stay with it. Let's go tonight or tomorrow night, whatever his plan is. I think it'll be impacted by how many missiles we're taking. They can't let the youngsters sit there long and just, if you'll pardon the expression, suck up shots from the Scuds. They'll need to go at some point.
And your biggest concern as this next step is launched?
I don't think we should have a lot of concerns at this point. There's a lot of hard work ahead, maybe 3 weeks of fighting throughout this huge country with 23 million people.
Sandstorms, though, I know is something.
Sandstorms, abject misery. The Air Force flies over it. The Army can move through it with GPS navigation technology. They have no good options. This force is standing by, ready to go.
And in terms of anti-aircraft artillery, or SAM, surface-to-air missiles, many of those have been taken out.
They have. In the southern no-fly zone, Katie, we have almost taken care of it. Around Baghdad, a lot of threat, and that's why when shock and awe starts, you will see cruise missiles, unmanned capability, both sea launch and air launch, going into Baghdad first, followed almost simultaneously by our stealth assets, the B-2 bomber, 16 2,000-pound bombs individually targeted, and again, the 117s that we saw last night will be in concert with the B-2s.
All right, General Michael Short and General Barry McCaffrey, gentlemen, thank you so much for your insight. Let's get a quick check of the weather now from Al.
Thanks a lot, Katie. Taking a look at the Middle Eastern weather, you'll see a cold front moving through right now through central Iraq. 69 in Baghdad, Kuwait City 77, Doha 81, and tomorrow they are looking at more areas of blowing sand in central and southern Iraq. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to a Thursday morning. Spring starts today at 5 o'clock. And as you can see outside now, we've got a few breaks in the overcast and some clouds. And as the day goes along, we will see those clouds producing some showers. We're seeing those right now off towards the west of us, up over the Coast Range. Some of those showers by mid-afternoon could be rather heavy at times. So here's the forecast today for the Portland, Vancouver metropolitan area. Showers and some sun breaks. Southwest winds are high 56 degrees.
Katie.
Okay, Al, thank you so much. We'll have much more on Operation Iraqi Freedom in a moment. And don't forget, you can follow the latest developments when it comes to the conflict in Iraq at msnbc.com. We'll be back in a moment. This is Today on NBC.
Everything is now at least 20 to 50% off at the Emporium going out of business sale. Plus, for 3 days only, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, take an extra 10% off your entire purchase. That's an extra 10% off already low discounted prices. Find new price reduction. Get 30% off the entire stock of men's, women's, and children's active, casual, and dress shoes. 30% off all Missy, Petite, and plus-size sportswear separates from Relativity. Get total liquidation savings on everything at the Emporium going out of business sale today.
Shopping was a horror story. Finding clothing to fit me and to fit my mother, it was so difficult. Now, we spend most of our days at the mall.
LA Weight Loss Center's revolutionizing the way people lose weight.
And now we can be together all day and not be tired, and we can go out and eat somewhere at a restaurant. I would definitely recommend the LA Weight Loss program to anyone who is ready to change their life.
5 Portland and Vancouver area locations. 1-800-LA6-SLIM. Call today.
Presenting a fresh approach to shopping with fresh ways to save. This week at Albertsons, save on Dole or Fresh Express salad blends or kits. Buy one, get one free with preferred card. Boneless beef, petite sirloin steaks, just $1.99 a pound with preferred card. And Albertsons half-gallon ice cream, only 99 cents with preferred card. Looking for a better way to save? Albertsons, it's your store.
I am a pleasure sponge. A surfboard slinging, beach bebopping, vineyard hopping, sushi slamming, chill out king.
Right there. Right there.
I'm a fun magnet. I'm a fun magnet! A sun pagan, whale groupie, a bocce boy in a seaweed wrap, a road tripping, redwood riding, cyclone of good times. A goat cheese inhaling,
flip-flop, Zen master
of the Shays Lounge.
California. Find yourself here.
Katie, still to come, the man who's running the war, a profile of General Tommy Franks.
And how America is now protecting itself after this.
When you contact a RE/MAX agent to help you buy or sell a home, you expect service that's a little out of the ordinary. After all, RE/MAX agents average more experience and more sales than other agents. So the next time you need outstanding real estate service, call RE/MAX and watch us spring into action. RE/MAX, outstanding agents, outstanding results.
Style. Between Bel Air and Beverly Hills, you could feel it everywhere. For this was the era of glamour, elegance, and romance. An era personified by one man, Humphrey Bogart. Now, Thomasville presents the Bogart Collection, piece by piece, room by room, all designed with the style and elegance of one of Hollywood's most romantic legends. The Bogart Collection, only from Thomasville, where style lives. Come in now for 12 months, no payments, no interest financing.
Introducing all new America Online 8.0. We listened to you and designed AOL 8.0 with hundreds of exciting new features.
Welcome.
Like the new online photo albums to instantly share pictures. And AOL alerts and reminders that alert you of important dates. Plus new and easier parental controls to help safeguard your kids. There are hundreds of new features to easily connect you to the people and things you care about most. New America Online 8.0. Call 1-800-4ONLINE or get a free startup disc at these locations.
You're quitting? You are my hero. Oh, why Nicoderm CQ?
I'm not a superhero.
You can wear Nicoderm CQ 16 hours during the day or 24 hours to get a jump on morning cravings. You decide. Nicoderm CQ.
Everyone's raving about the #1 family DVD and video critics say is more fun than the first. Inspector Gadget 2.
It's okay.
Only today on Disney DVD and video. Rated G.
It's a good thing I wore an apron.
Outback. I want to put my name on the list.
There's no place like Outback. With caller-ahead seating,
Nelson?
just call up, get on the list, and you'll be seated in no time. Outback's caller-ahead seating.
Here's a little reminder for you from Flonase. Don't forget to use your Flonase nasal spray. You'll be glad you did. Remember, all you want is Flonase.
So sexy, it'll make you want to cheat on your sofa. The Camilla Shades from Lazy Boy. The new look of comfort.
Sometimes the little things make all the difference. This isn't one of those times. The factory-authorized truckload sale at Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Hurry before it comes to a halt.
News Channel 8 can also be seen on these local translators. This is a News Channel 8 update.
And good morning, everybody. I'm Russ Lewis. It's 7:27 now. We have 47 degrees outside downtown, and authorities are concerned about possible violence from anti-war protesters later today. Some demonstrators say they will try to shut down Portland businesses downtown because their peaceful protests didn't get the word across to the president that they oppose this war. At about 4 this afternoon, war protesters will gather across from the federal building downtown. Police worry it could become violent. They have significantly increased the police presence downtown.
When you put your uniform on, you're professional, you're trained, and we do the right thing. And the right thing is to defend the Constitution and defend everyone's equal access to the streets. No one has more access than anyone else. No one has more rights to walk down the street. People don't have a right to stop other people from going to work, from going home at night when it's time to go home and be with your family.
I suspect there will be people that will be coming to make a statement, and there will be some that will do it quietly and peacefully, and there'll be some that will want to disrupt traffic, and we will not permit that.
Time for a traffic check. Here's Bill Diaz.
Russ, inbound I-84, some slowing from the gateway stretch prior to I-205 down past 74th. I-5 southbound in Vancouver. Bunches up on the interstate bridge. Slow traffic from there through Delta Park. On the Sunset Highway inbound, lots of slowing at 217. We're getting a report of a problem near the Vista Ridge Tunnel. Live from the ODOT Traffic Command Center, I'm Bill Diaz with the forecast. Here's Dave Selesky.
Thanks very much, Bill. We do have cloudy skies overhead, some breaks in the overcast. We're also seeing some showers scattered around the area, and that's going to continue on and off throughout the morning, and those showers intensifying by midday. Forecast today, showers and some sun breaks. Our daytime high, 56. Russ, back to you.
All right, Dave, thanks very much. We have more local news for you coming up this morning in 25 minutes. Until then, I'm Russ Lewis. Have a good day, everybody.
We're wheeling and we're dealing.
You want a wheeling deal, or do you want a real sale? Suzuki's once-a-year Move Fast sale. Right now, you can get great financing or $2,000 cash back on all new 2003 XL7s. A Consumer's Digest Best Buy with America's #1 warranty. That's 0% APR financing for 5 years or $2,000 cash back. So get in and take a closer look at America's best value so you don't have to deal with him.
Tell you what I'm going to do.
Your home, your ideas, and the freedom to express them. At Lowe's, we make it easy. Lowe's decorative hardware selection has everything from Art Deco to modern to traditional. And Lowe's Hardware Help Desk has experts to help you cut, size, and customize, so everything fits perfectly. And at Lowe's, we have low prices every day, guaranteed. That's our promise. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
We're back on this Thursday morning, the 20th of March, 2003. The war against Iraq is now underway. U.S. jets flew bombing missions over the country, missiles from ships and submarines hitting targets in Baghdad, as well as northern and western Iraq. The president will be meeting with his cabinet today. Meanwhile, I'm Katie Couric in New York. Matt Lauer is at Central Command this morning, or this evening, rather, in Qatar. Matt, good morning.
That's right, Katie. It's coming up on 6:30 local time. It's dark, as you can see, and you can only imagine what's going on in the Joint Operations Center, or JOC, in a building not far from here. It's a building, it's a room we showed you yesterday. There are just a double-wide trailer, computers lining 2 long tables, about 60 people manning those computers, taking in all kinds of raw information and passing it up the chain of command, filtering it till it eventually gets to General Tommy Franks and decisions can be made. And now things are getting busy in there because, of course, we're hearing about possible missile attacks. And, of course, we know of some missile attacks coming from Iraq earlier today. Let's go to Ann Curry, who is aboard the USS Constellation in the Persian Gulf, and get the latest from her. Ann?
Hey, Matt, great to hear your voice. Hey, listen, you know, as you say, 6:30 in the Persian Gulf. Well, if, as the captain of the USS Constellation says, the storm is rising, then this is a lull just before. All planes are aboard, many on deck. All 5,000 sailors and Marines are now quietly preparing for the order to launch the blitz on Baghdad. Now, we've heard many reports today about surrenders. Well, this may be one reason why. 2.5 million of these propaganda leaflets were dropped over Iraq overnight. These leaflets tell the Iraqi military specifically not only not to use chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons, but they also tell them how to surrender. For example, they say, you know, drive your vehicles into a square and stand apart from them. They also tell them to put a white flag over their vehicles if possible. This obviously an attempt by the U.S. government to send a message that people will be allowed to surrender, and if they do, they might just save their lives. Matt, reporting from the Constellation, now back to you in Qatar.
So, Ann, when you talk to the people aboard the Constellation, in terms of the airmen, they are fully expecting that tonight is the night they'll be called into action again?
You know, they don't know. They're ready to launch at any time. And certainly the military brass here are not telling us when they're going to launch. But there is no question that it is a matter of days. If it's not tonight, that it's going to be tomorrow, the next night, or the next night. It's very clear to everyone here that we are at the ready and that it's going to happen soon. As to when it's going to happen, well, you can bet the U.S. military is not going to tell us. But when we find out, and if we're able to communicate it to you, Matt, and to Katie, and to everybody in New York, we certainly will.
Ann Curry aboard the USS Constellation, somewhere in the Persian Gulf, and obviously a tense situation on board that carrier. Katie, let's go back to you in New York.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. On the home front, meanwhile, the governors of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut announced this morning they are combining their police efforts to patrol mass transit and commuter trains in particular. Just the latest development in the effort to protect the U.S. from a potential terrorist attack during wartime. NBC's Justice correspondent Pete Williams has more now on Homeland Security. Pete, good morning.
Katie, good morning to you. That's a very unusual arrangement because it required the governors of those 3 states to, in essence, cross-deputize each other's police so that a New Jersey policeman coming into New York could make arrests there and vice versa. There were about 100 New York State troopers riding in commuter trains today, the Long Island Railroad, the New Haven Railroad, and other commuter lines into the city. They were joined by state police and National Guard from New Jersey and Connecticut, all coming into New York today, all helping to patrol the subways. The governor Pataki today said there were National Guardsmen from the Adirondacks on the subways of New York City today who'd never even seen a subway before. Locally, police taking steps like this all over the country. Additional police protection here on bridges in Washington. The LAPD will now begin to put out around police to around 550 sites they've deemed critical in Los Angeles. On the federal level, the FBI says it will now begin enhanced surveillance of people in the United States that it considers may pose a threat. FBI agents now throughout the country, joined by local law enforcement agencies, will now fan out and try to interview a number of Iraqis in the United States, some 10,000 of them, in the hopes that they may have information that they could pass on to law enforcement that would be useful, either from suspicious things that they see here in the Arab community or from things that they may hear from relatives back home. And the FBI's command center is now up and fully staffed, ready for what the Bureau predicts will be a great increase in tips from the public. One official this morning saying no lead will go unchecked. So this is a nationwide effort, Katie, and it really is unprecedented.
Pete, I'm just curious, interviewing all those Iraqis living in the United States and then detaining those seeking political asylum from something like 30 countries, has there been any backlash from the ACLU or other organizations regarding those techniques?
Well, a number of Arab groups are saying that they think it's unfair to single out Arab Americans. Now, of the detention of asylum seekers is, as you know, a separate operation. That's people who are now coming into the United States from any country which the U.S. believes has harbored al-Qaeda or supported it or where al-Qaeda members are known to have come from. Anyone from now on coming in from those countries seeking political asylum in the U.S. will be detained during the duration of the processing of their asylum claim. The FBI claims that these interviews it's doing with Iraqis in the U.S. are just sort of get acquainted, here we are, we want you to know about us. But obviously, if there are any people who have overstayed their immigration status or out of status, they could be detained, Katie. But they say they have to reach out to these people and urge them to come forward.
All right, thank you very much. NBC's Pete Williams in Washington. And now time for a check of the weather. And Mr. Roker.
Thank you.
How are you?
Doing pretty good. Around the country, things not too bad. Kind of quiet, although we do have some heavy thunderstorms now working their way up the eastern seaboard. But out west, a lot of moisture streaming on into the Pacific Northwest. You can see all of that working its way in. We're looking at some areas picking up a half an inch to a quarter of an inch in the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures generally around where they should be, 77 Phoenix, 65 in Los Angeles. A little leftover snow flurry activity, then partly cloudy in Denver. Temperatures in the mid-40s. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning. It's Thursday, first day of spring. Spring starts today at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have plenty of clouds and a few breaks in the overcast right now. Here's a look at our satellite and radar. Nice onshore flow, which means whatever offshore flows onshore to the Oregon coast, and that means some clouds and some showers today. And our forecast calls for that. Showers and occasional sun breaks with southwest winds about 5 to 15. Today's high temperature reaching 56 degrees.
Back to Katie.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. And now back to the war's Joint Operations Center, or JOC, in Qatar. But first, these messages.
This looks great. Great, but I might take some.
Honey?
Let me get some more of that for you. I'll be right back.
You know, we're gonna have to break it in sooner or later.
Sometimes the more mascara you apply, the less lashes you seem to have. Now Max Factor has an answer. Stretch and separate.
Looks like you have twice the lashes.
Twice as seductive, twice the lashes.
New Stretch and Separate from Max Factor. Now appearing in the major motion picture event, Chicago.
Charlotte's Web 2, Wilbur's Great Adventure, only on DVD and video.
I'm Wilbur.
The story you loved as a child continues. Now share it with your little ones.
I'm glad you're my friend.
Buy it today on DVD and video. Rated G.
It's not hard to remember to take the pill every day. It's just so easy to forget. But look at this. It's the birth control patch, Ortho Evra. It's just as effective as the pill, but even simpler. Because one patch protects you for a whole week. It's incredibly thin and smooth. You could put it here, here, or here. And it stays put. Just peel and stick. That's how simple Ortho Evra makes birth control.
The contraceptive patch contains hormones like those in birth control pills. Serious risks include blood clot, stroke, and heart attack. Cigarette smoking increases these risks, especially if you're over 35. Patch users are strongly advised not to smoke. Women with blood clots, certain cancers, a history of heart attack or stroke, and those who could be pregnant should not use the patch. The patch does not protect against HIV or sexually transmitted diseases. To learn more, talk to your healthcare professional.
So, if you don't want to have to remember the pill every day, put on the patch.
Ortho Evra. On your body, off your mind.
Some mornings I was so constipated I could hardly make my deliveries. I felt bloated, all knotted up. This one little pill changed my mornings.
Good morning, Mrs. Renner.
New X-Lax Ultra. This little pill with X-Lax guaranteed relief by 8 a.m. X-Lax Ultra. Now my mornings are ultra good.
Good morning. And here's the package for you, Jill.
New X-Lax Ultra for ultra good mornings.
Coffee and donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. Just a thing for your morning commute.
We are back here in Doha, Qatar, and we are trying to get some information on exactly what types of weapons, what types of aircraft were used last night in these raids on Baghdad. We know, Kelly O'Donnell, that there were cruise missiles used, Tomahawk cruise missiles that came from naval vessels in the Persian Gulf and in the Red Sea. We also know there were F-117A stealth fighters. What else have we heard?
Well, from the land-based side, those aircraft taking off from bases in the region, we do, of course, know about the 117 stealth. That is a key ingredient in the assault. Also, F-16 CJs, they call them wild weasels. One of the pilots told me that. He said those seek and destroy enemy air defenses, so they're able to hone in on radar and then destroy it. That was a key component.
And we should mention what often happens is these air radar systems, these air defenses are not turned on until there's some sort of incoming aircraft, and then the people manning those aircraft radar have a decision to make. Do they turn them on and lock onto these planes and risk showing themselves, at which time a lot of these planes are very good at taking them out?
Absolutely, because they have highly sensitive guided bombs, and they are able to we understand that the 15 Eagle, we've got some pictures of it now. What's important here, these are the first pictures that we are seeing from operations from last night. The F-15 Eagle has a deep strike capability. It can be used as both a fighter and a bomber. What our viewers are seeing, dark pictures we know, but it does give you a sense of what it felt like last night.
The military before this confrontation, Kelly, had said they were going to turn around and release pictures as quickly as possible, get them out to the news media. It's taken quite a while to see these first pictures, and they come with certain rules attached to them. We're not supposed to tell where these planes or these aircraft came from and what units they're part of.
Those are the restrictions. We're not to say the country of origin. We're not to identify the airbase from which they're located.
And now we're taking a look at the F-16. This is the CJ. This is what you call the Wild Weasel.
Yes.
And this is the one that's very good at taking out air defenses. We talked about the F-117 stealth fighter, and sometimes that name is a little bit misleading. It's less of a fighter in terms of air-to-air combat as it is a light bomber.
And people think of the B-2 stealth bomber. This is the fighter version. It has deep capability for deep strike, and it has the low profile, so it makes it harder to detect. It is one of the more interesting aircraft to see, and it was vital in last night's operation.
And also we should mention that this is the plane that was actually, one of these was shot down over Serbia, and the Serbs were quite proud of the fact that they actually hit what was supposed to be an invisible airplane. U.S. military officials are not sure whether it was just a lucky shot.
Exactly. That reminds me of the crash we talked about earlier with the helicopter crash of the Special Ops. The U.S. Actually destroyed that chopper once on the ground. It had a hard landing. Everyone survived. They destroyed it to keep the Iraqis from getting the highly sensitive equipment on board.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much. And just a short distance from where Kelly and I are sitting right now is the General's War Room. That is where General Tommy Franks sits, taking in all kinds of information and running this war with Iraq. But who is this man? NBC's Jim Miklaszewski has a look at his life.
250,000 American troops engaged in war with Iraq.
Our troops in the field are trained. They're ready. They are capable.
Led by 4-star General Tommy Franks, at age 57, the combatant commander of U.S. Central Command. Highly praised for winning the war in Afghanistan, despite the fact Osama bin Laden slipped away in the Battle of Tora Bora, Franks has the full backing of the Bush administration.
Tom Franks is doing a superb job for this country. He has my complete confidence and the complete confidence of the President of the United States.
Thanks a lot, guys.
A muddy boots soldier who shuns the spotlight, Franks is as comfortable with his troops as he is with foreign leaders. Colleagues call him a consummate professional.
He's a student of the profession at the highest level and down at the tactical level, at the rubber meets the road.
With roots in the president's hometown of Midland, Texas, Franks played football for Robert E. Lee High School, alma mater to another famous alum, future First Lady Laura Welch. Showcasing his sense of humor, Franks recounts a recent meeting with his high school principal.
He said, "I just don't recall you being the sharpest knife in the drawer." And here you are, a senior general in the armed forces of this country. The armed forces of the United States of America, 4-star general. And I looked at him and I said, "Dr. Hines, ain't this a great country?"
It came as no surprise to friends and family when in 1965, Franks dropped out of college to enlist in the Army.
He felt like he should serve his country. His father had served his country, and I felt like he felt it was his obligation to go do what the country needed him to do.
Awarded 3 Purple Hearts during tours in Vietnam, Franks quickly worked his way up the chain of command.
He's a great soldier. He has a great background, and he's a soldier, cares for the troops, and that's very, very important.
I'm Don Rumsfeld, and I'm here to introduce General Tommy Franks.
Despite their public displays of unity, Franks and Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld initially had serious differences over how to fight a war with Iraq. Franks pushing for overwhelming numbers of ground troops, Rumsfeld stressing smaller and faster with more covert operations. The two met somewhere in the middle. Aides describe the relationship now as one of mutual respect. And just as he's proven himself on the battlefield, Franks has learned how to pick his way through the political minefields of Washington to fight another day. For today, Jim Miklaszewski, NBC News, the Pentagon.
And when we come back, what will happen in Iraq after the war? But first, these messages.
Every day, the South wakes up to billions of allergens, from cats and dogs to ragweed and dust. That's why there's Clarinex. Clarinex provides receptor protection to help block histamine. Get 24-hour non-drowsy allergy relief anywhere, anytime. Side effects are similar to sugar pill, including sore throat, dry mouth, and fatigue. Indoor allergies, outdoor allergies, wherever. Talk to your doctor about Clarinex.
March 25th on DVD. Guess who's coming up in the world?
She isn't like anyone I've ever met before.
Jennifer Lopez.
You're beautiful.
Made in Manhattan. Buy it on DVD March 25th.
Oh, almost sat on your face.
Pay bills online free. With free checking from Bank of America. Higher standards.
Hi, I want a dishwasher and I want the best deal.
Well, we match any price.
Hi. If I bought an appliance here and saw it for less, then what?
Just tell us within 30 days and we'll give you 10% of the difference.
Excuse me?
Yes, we price match.
I'll take it.
You got a little...
Where can you get the top 6 brands of appliances, including Kenmore? Where can you get Price Match Plus, where they'll match any price plus give 10% of the difference? Sears. Where else?
Mom knows the quickest route from swim team practice to piano lessons to ballet class. Knows Blossom from Bubbles from Buttercup. Knows that sometimes the best way to treat a scraped knee is with an oatmeal cookie and a glass of orange juice. Great tasting, 100% pure, Minute Maid premium orange juice. For moms who know, it's Minute Maid.
What did you have for dinner?
Last night, I had an industrial-sized bat of taco chips.
I had 3-day-old cold pizza.
I licked the frosting off an empty box of donuts. I had sesame chicken and a tangy plum sauce with sesame noodles, red peppers, and crisp green beans. It was one of those new Asian-style dinners from Lean Cuisine.
Do something good for yourself with new Asian-style cuisine. It's not just lean, it's cuisine.
Regime change is one of the key factors behind the war with Iraq, but once the regime has been changed, what role will the United States and the United Nations play in creating order out of potential political chaos? Rachel Bronson is an NBC analyst and the director of Middle East Studies for the Council on Foreign Relations, where she co-authored a report on this very issue. Rachel Bronson, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we talk about post-Saddam Iraq, let's talk about pre-war Iraq. You believe that the policy of containment could not have worked. Why do you believe that?
The policy of containment, of keeping Saddam in his box, was leaking. It was breaking. There was enormous amounts of money being sort of smuggled back into Iraq through illicit deals that Saddam had with the Syrians and with others. So he was getting increased funds to continue to build and program. But in addition to that, something we often overlook is that the costs of containment were very high to the United States. We had military presence in the region that was becoming a flashpoint for radicals to sort of focus on. This sort of anti-Americanism was building throughout the 90s, given this ugly policy we had. And the policy of sanctions is horrendous. It was targeting Iraqi citizens, and that was being used also by the radicals. This is an ugly policy containment that's both immoral and costly to the United States.
So you feel as if this is the right thing to do, and yet you are upset at the way the United States has alienated many other countries in the world in the process. What did the Bush administration do wrong? Why are we so isolated, almost completely isolated and alone, even though there is a coalition of the willing?
Right. There's a number of things we did wrong. First of all, I think this administration came to power believing that if we showed resolve, others would follow, that all we had to do was show commitment and strength, and it was something that they came to power believing. It requires more than that to bring countries along. And because they believe that, they never built a strategy. They never thought, what does Mexico need, given that it's sitting on the Security Council, so we can bring them along in terms of immigration, things that the Mexicans care a lot about.
But does everything have to be a quid pro quo? Couldn't they have done it without offering something to the countries who they were hoping would fall in line?
Well, if you remember, during the first Gulf War, George Bush the father had his people out talking to China about most favored nation status. Countries follow because it's in their interest to follow, but we've never built those interests with this administration. I think the second real mistake of this administration is they never explained what this was about. Sometimes it was about regime change, sometimes it was about disarmament, sometimes it was about terrorism, and sometimes it was about democracy. Confused not only Americans here at home, but it certainly confused those abroad. The third thing is they issued this doctrine of preemption right before going. The legal justification of this could have been within UN Security Councils. Issuing this doctrine of preemption made the neighbors and others think maybe they were next. That's not what you want to do if you want to build alliances and coalitions. And I think the final thing, and this gets to what you were saying earlier, we never had a vision of the day after. And so certainly many in the region looked at the United States and said they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They are going to leave this mess on our doorsteps.
Do you believe the United States has an idea of what it's getting itself into? From what you understand, will this post-Saddam Iraq be manageable? Will the United States have the stick-to-itness
to see this through, because I know that's what many Arab nations are afraid of, that chaos will fill the power vacuum, as you've asserted, and the United States will be AWOL.
Right. I think that there's some movement within the administration, a recognition. We're starting to organize for it. We have this Office of Reconstruction and Humanitarian Affairs for Iraq, but in the sense of what are the guiding principles that are going to lead us there, and how are we going to build a strategy? I don't think we're there. We are going to have to police and pacify. We're going to have to use our soldiers to create law and order, something the president has campaigned against. They have not shown that they are fully committed to the long haul of this.
Campaigning against nation building during the election. And of course you believe the United Nations needs to be brought into the fold. We're going to talk about that and a bit more. But first, we're going to take this quick break. We'll be back after this.
The first thing anyone will tell you when you're trying to design your own place is that you can start with just one thing.
You know, a sofa or a new coffee table.
You come in, and we have someone there to help you.
We'll take your budget and try and fit into that budget what you'd really like to do.
The design consultants at Ethan Allen
We'll help turn the home of your dreams into a reality.
We do a lot more than people usually think.
The complimentary design service.
It's fun.
It's free.
It's easy.
For the first time on Vista Series DVD,
Boy, I'm ready.
comes the breakthrough movie critics hailed as a landmark.
Nobody gets a drop on Roger Rabbit.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Own it on video and for the first time ever on Vista Series DVD, March 25th.
Get water. As active as you. Propel Fitness Water. With flavor to hydrate and vitamins to nourish. It's how Gatorade does water. Propel.
Don't wimp out. Make your lashes stronger and look 60% longer.
Introducing Double Extend Mascara, the first ever double-ended power tool from L'Oreal. Step 1 fortifies. Step 2 lengthens.
Won't clump, won't smudge. Lashes grow from weak to strong, short to long. Power lashes.
New Double Extend Mascara from L'Oreal Paris.
It's the power tool for stronger, longer lashes. Because you're worth it.
It's Pearl Vision's 2 for You sale. Buy one pair of glasses, choose a free pair valued up to $175. Your free glasses can be a second pair, computer glasses, or even prescription sunglasses.
Nobody cares for eyes more.
Chinook wins Casino in Lincoln City. It's better at the beach, where you can play big and win big. Friday and Saturday, March 21st and 22nd, it's better at the beach with the legendary Four Tops.
Now if you feel that you can't go home, baby, I need your loving, baby.
Chinook wins Casino in Lincoln City. It's better at the beach.
It seems like an eternity. 18 months, over 13,000 hours, until September 2004, when you first pay for the beautiful Wicks furniture you buy today. Put just 10% down. Make no payments. Pay no interest until September 2004. You buy today. Get delivery right away. Take 18 months to pay. No interest accrues until September 2004. Only at Wicks Furniture.
News Channel 8 can also be seen on these local translators. This is a News Channel 8 update.
And good morning, everybody. I'm Russ Lewis at 7:57 now, 47 degrees outside. And if you're headed out to PDX today, security guards may search your car. More police officers are already patrolling the airport. And last night, the Port of Portland closed off a section of the parking garage closest to the terminal. Starting this morning, guards will randomly flag down vehicles headed to the airport for inspections. Well, the war is keeping Portland Mayor Vera Katz from pitching Portland to Major League Baseball. She is not with a Portland delegation headed to Phoenix to talk with baseball about bringing the Montreal Expos to the Rose City. The president's speech delayed last night's Blazers game. The NBA called the Rose Garden shortly before tip-off and told people there to broadcast the president's message from the Oval Office before the game started. Blazers won that game, by the way, against the Houston Rockets. Time now for a check of the traffic. Here's Bill Diaz.
Russ, thanks. Most of the slowing right now, I-5 southbound is from the Interstate Bridge through Delta Park. We do have some slow traffic on the Sunset Highway to warn you about this morning. Inbound starts slow right after Murray, takes you to the top of the hill. Westbound heavy out past Cedar Hills. I-5 northbound traffic has also gotten heavier, a little sluggish from Taylor's Ferry through the curves. Live from the ODOT Traffic Command Center, I'm Bill Diaz with the forecast. Here's Dave Selesky.
Bill, thanks much. We do have some scattered showers, not here in the downtown area, but out towards the west. Here's Hillsborough, the Banks area, and out on Highway 26, just heading up into the Coast Range. You'll see some showers, and those showers will be on the increase throughout the day. Now, Doppler here in downtown Portland showing cloudy skies, but again, no precipitation falling on the west or on the east side of the city. Currently, outside in Portland, we do have mostly cloudy skies. It's 47 right now, 48 at this time. Forecast today calls for showers and sun breaks and a high of 56. Russ, over to you.
All right, Dave, thanks a lot. We have more local news for you in 25 minutes this morning. Until then, I'm Russ Lewis. Have a good day, everybody.
My name is Leanne, and on July 5th, my family fell victim to a crisis in health care. My husband was in an accident. He was rushed to the hospital, but the surgeons who could have helped him were no longer there. Lawsuits against doctors and hospitals had made it too expensive for them to practice. We didn't get the care we needed, and today we suffer. But you don't have to. Congress can change the law. Tell Congress to support medical liability reform now.
I quit my job today.
I met this really cool guy on the internet. He's 30.
Life throws all kinds of curves. Fortunately, with its advanced safety systems, the Smooth Running RX is designed to better handle the ones on the road.
Hey, Mom, you know that tattoo we talked about?
How you manage the rest is up to you. All for just $35,700. Test drive one at Lexus of Portland.
Good that they could flex the war plan to go after leadership in a decapitating attack. And today, we saw an attack reported by one of our reporters in Jordan of an attack on what looked like a fairly harmless gas station. But really, it was a target designed to disable the ability to refuel Scud tails moving about in the western desert, which shows the kind of overlapping way that you hit one target and get three systemic functions, so that when your enemy starts to react, you've taken out a whole system. He begins to panic, he begins to doubt himself, he starts to come off of his game plan. He is in awe.
It's not just the military that comes off the game plan, but it has a big effect on the Iraqi population as well.
Well, absolutely. And in this particular business, the minute the people start to see the control system that Saddam has used for all these years, secret police, paramilitaries, parties start to fracture, then they begin looking around to say, okay, now how do we make a deal?
All right, let's go to your Air Force counterpart across the desk here. Michael Short, what kind of aircraft do we have, and in what waves do they arrive over their targets?
Tom, I think when we see the shock and awe start, it will be led by cruise missiles launched from Navy ships in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, and U.S. Air Force B-52s launching air-launched cruise missiles with a little bit heavier warhead for penetration. They will be followed almost simultaneously by B-2 stealth bombers and 117 stealth fighters, the same aircraft that were used last night. What you see there on the screen is a Tomahawk cruise missile. It can have a 1,000-pound unitary warhead or a cluster bomb warhead, which I think was probably used last night in concert with the 117s. They will take down the eyes of the Iraqi air defenses, so we can then follow very quickly with conventional aircraft, F-18s, F-14s off the carriers, F-16s, F-15Es, U.S. Air Force, British Tornadoes, British Jaguars, working the western desert to keep the Scud threat down to Israel and going after those targets you and I have talked about, command and control, etc.
I have some news for you. We've just been told that the Turkish parliament now has approved overflight of Turkey for American warplanes. That's going to be a big break for the air attack.
It is, Tom.
If it doesn't come too late?
It's less than half a loaf, and I think it's almost too late. I think for us to put refueling assets in place to support the carrier air coming through may almost be a bridge too far.
All right, let me now go back to our guy who fights on the ground, General Monty Miggs. A lot of talk about a rolling start. In the Persian Gulf War, as you know, you had a 30-day air campaign. You sat out there in the desert waiting for them to finish that, and then you began your attack.
That's right.
Based on everything that we've been told, that the air campaign will begin, and very shortly after that, the American ground forces will begin. We've had reports this morning of oil fields that have been set afire. How much does that complicate this close coordination that will be required?
Not a whole lot. The smoke in the air will have an effect on weapons systems that depend on lasers when it's in the air, and it may have an effect on bomb damage assessment if it's over a target. But we had the same problem at the end of the war previously. Basically what happens with an oil field that's on fire is you get a huge puddle of oil and a big fireball, if you will, or plume, and a smoke. Now, the interesting thing about this part of the world is that the winds right now are from west to east, so a lot of this plume is going to blow off easterly, which will take it out of the way of the actual advance up to Baghdad, for the most part.
We've heard a couple of reports of Iraq setting off a couple of missiles, maybe an Al-Samud, perhaps a Scud. The Patriots seem to have worked in one instance. Have you been surprised, given the attack of last night, that the response from Iraq has been not as robust as we might have expected?
No, that doesn't surprise me at all. First of all, we know he's got a bunch of these Al-Samuds hidden. We know, for instance, from Secretary Powell's comments that he was planning on doing that. And if he shows them, he risks losing them. So what I think he's doing right now is looking for a silver bullet to cause a big impact. Strategically, it's a nuisance. If you're a soldier down in that trench, putting your mask on every 15 minutes is a heck of a nuisance. But it's not that much of a threat. I think what he'll do is want to use these things when we get closer to targets that are really important to him.
Tom, I think what's hindering him right now is that's a relatively short-range missile. He's got to get deep into the no-fly zone in order to range Kuwait. And as you know, we've owned the no-fly zone for a number of years. I think his ability to bring significant numbers that far south to threaten Kuwait is very limited.
And with the AWACS planes that we must have in the air, anything that moves in the Iraqi territory will be reported instantly.
And the Joint Stars, that gives us the ground radar picture, the moving target indicator. If you're moving a transport erector launcher down the road to get a missile in range of Kuwait, we're going to see it.
And in today's command and control, division and brigade commanders see that same time General Franks does.
We are generally joint with sharing the picture.
All right, we want to remind our audience once again that momentarily we do expect to see Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Richard Myers, come into the briefing room. As you can see, it is packed. At that time, we do expect to get the first public assessment of what happened last night. Here they come. Secretary Rumsfeld, serving in that job for the second time, now a familiar figure, Secretary of War, effectively, beginning last night with Richard Myers.
Good morning. The United States and the international community have made every effort to avoid war. Diplomacy and sanctions over more than a decade have not worked. And now, by rejecting President Bush's ultimatum, the Iraqi regime has chosen military conflict over peaceful disarmament. Coalition forces hit a senior Iraqi leadership compound last evening. The damage assessment on the compound is pending. That was the first. It will likely not be the last. The days of the Saddam Hussein regime are numbered. We continue to feel that there's no need for a broader conflict if the Iraqi leaders act to save themselves and to prevent such further conflict. What will follow will not be a repeat of any other conflict. It will be of a force and scope and scale that has been beyond what has been seen before. The Iraqi soldiers and officers must ask themselves whether they want to die fighting for a doomed regime, or do they want to survive, help the Iraqi people in the liberation of their country, and play a role in a new, free Iraq. If Saddam Hussein or his generals issue orders to use weapons of mass destruction, whether on coalition forces, free Iraqi forces, neighboring countries, or innocent Iraqi civilians, as they have done before, those orders should not be followed. Do not follow orders to destroy dams or flood villages. Do not follow orders to destroy your country's oil, which is the Iraqi people, and they will need it to rebuild their country when that regime is gone. Following such orders would be to commit crimes against the Iraqi people. See those orders for what they are, the last desperate gasp of a dying regime. Those who follow orders to commit such crimes will be found and they will be punished. War crimes will be prosecuted, and it will be no excuse to say, I was just following orders. Any official involved in such crimes will forfeit hope of amnesty or leniency with respect to past actions. Military units that want to live and act with honor should listen to coalition radio broadcasts to receive instructions as to how you may demonstrate that you do not intend to fight. You will have a place in a free Iraq if you do the right thing. But if you follow Saddam Hussein's orders, you will share his fate. And the choice is yours. To the Iraqi people, let me say that the day of your liberation will soon be at hand. Coalition forces will take every precaution to protect innocent civilians. Once hostilities begin, stay in your homes and listen to coalition radio stations for instructions on what to do to remain safe and out of the line of fire. Iraqi civilians do not go to work. Stay away from military targets and any facilities where Saddam Hussein has moved military assets. Arrangements are being made to care for refugees and displaced persons inside of Iraq. There is no need for Iraqis to flee across their borders into neighboring countries. Listen for instructions on how to get food, water, and medical supplies. Iraq belongs to the Iraqi people. And once Saddam Hussein's regime is removed, we intend to see that functional and political authority is placed in the hands of Iraqis as quickly as is possible. Coalition forces will stay only as long as necessary to finish the job, and not a day longer. Let me say a word about our coalition. Already more than 35 nations have publicly associated themselves with the coalition effort in Iraq. And that does not include a large number of other countries that are helping in very important ways, but some of which prefer to do so privately at this time. As was the case in Afghanistan, our policy is to accept help from countries on a basis that is comfortable to them, and let them characterize how, in fact, they are helping the coalition. As the operation unfolds, the number of countries publicly associating themselves with the coalition is likely to grow, just as it has with Operation Enduring Freedom. The coalition in Iraq includes countries from every part of the world, including a large number of Muslim-majority countries. Some are supporting the effort publicly, others are doing so privately. This is not a war against a people. It is not a war against a country. It is most certainly not a war against a religion. It is a war against a regime. Many countries have committed combat and combat support forces to the effort in Iraq. Others are providing access, basing, overflight, refueling, force protection, and intelligence sharing. Still others have pledged to participate in stability operations and post-Saddam reconstruction efforts. When the situation on the ground permits, the humanitarian activities will go forward promptly. Each coalition member is playing a critical role in the liberation of a repressed people and the disarmament of a dangerous regime. Finally, to those in our government, let me say a word about security of operational details. It's essential that everyone with access to classified operational details exercise discipline. There is no excuse for anyone revealing sensitive information that will almost certainly put the lives of men and women in uniform at risk. At a time when coalition forces are poised for battle, any compromise of classified information that gives the enemy knowledge of the positions of our forces, or the plans, or the timing of future operations can result in the death of coalition service men and women. Don't do it. Let me close by saying that war is the last choice. Let there be no doubt. The American people can take comfort in knowing that their country has done everything humanly possible to avoid war and to secure Iraq's peaceful disarmament. We have the greatest fighting forces on the face of the earth. Our nation is blessed to have so many brave men and women who voluntarily risk their lives to protect our country. As they prepare for battle, the prayers of all Americans are with them and with their families. The coalition against Iraq, called Operation Iraq Freedom, is large and growing. This is not a unilateral action, as is being characterized in the media. Indeed, the coalition in this activity is larger than the coalition that existed during the Gulf War in 1991. And that coalition, those forces are ready, and they will prevail. The Iraqi regime will be removed, and with it, the threat it poses to this country and to the world. General Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Let me add just a few remarks to what the Secretary said about Operation Security. As we approach large-scale operations, our responsibility is to give the troops the best opportunity for success and to protect their lives as best as possible. There are military preparatory actions that need to be accomplished before any major attack. That said, we still want to preserve tactical surprise as much as possible. So we will not confirm or deny any preparatory actions, whether accurate or inaccurate. We will acknowledge the obvious if those actions become visible, but give little details, as the Secretary just did on the strike on an Iraqi leadership target. Many of these preparatory actions in the hours ahead are vital to the lives of our troops and the safety and security of Iraq's neighbors. I know our nation and our friends and allies will understand and support these efforts. There's been much talk about how easy this conflict could be. Let me assure you that we do not regard combat as an easy task. Warfare is dangerous. We will have casualties, but I'll tell you that our troops are the best trained and the best led in the world. They understand their mission to defend America, and they will carry out their mission successfully. Let me reassure you that when full-scale combat operations begin, we will make the appropriate announcement and provide information on some of those preparatory actions that were accomplished. Finally, to join in with the Secretary, we wish Godspeed to all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and civilians from the U.S. and our coalition forces who may find themselves in harm's way. With that, we'll take your question.
General Myers, you had said earlier that Saddam Hussein is not a target of the war. How do you reconcile that with the first strikes being cruise missile strikes on where Saddam Hussein might be?
Regime, leadership, command, and control is a legitimate target in any conflict. And that was the target that was struck last night.
Charlie? Mr. Secretary, two quick ones, if I may. Did you have information?
Why don't we just try one?
All right, you said a leadership compound was struck. Did you have information Saddam might have been there? And quickly, there are also reports from southern Iraq that oil fires have begun. Is there any information that the Iraqis might have begun setting their oil fields on fire?
I thought we agreed on just one.
All right, let's go with the oil one.
We're not on the ground. I have seen indication and reports from people that there may be, that the Iraqi regime may have set fire to as many as 3 or 4 of the oil wells in the south. And we're in the process of attempting to get additional information on that. Is that your information as well?
You plan to try and move quickly to stop that if...
And needless to say, it is a crime for that regime to be destroying the riches of the Iraqi people. And but I'm not going to get into operational
And the
details.
people that are carrying it out from the regime are part of that crime. Part of that crime.
Are what, sir?
They're part of that crime. The people that are carrying this out, carrying these orders out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Secretary, if indeed we missed Saddam last night, what does that do to the Iraqi spirit, and does it provide an early propaganda victory for the regime?
You know, I'm not into the tick-tock of every hour and every minute. We have a serious task before us, and it is to remove that regime and find the weapons of mass destruction and replace it with a government that does not want those weapons and will not threaten its neighbor and will maintain a single country. This is a process that takes some time, and it will ebb and flow, and when it's over, the regime will be gone.
Mr. Secretary,
yes.
You and other officials have emphasized how massive the actual attack on Iraq will be once it starts, urging the Iraqi military not to fight. Is it also your hope that some elements of the military might remove Saddam themselves, and how would you assess the chances of that?
I don't think it's possible to assess the chances, but there's no question that the people of Iraq and the people of the region have to know that his days are numbered. He's not going to be there. In some period of time, he's gone. And that regime is gone. To the great benefit of the Iraqi people, they'll be liberated. There are various ways it could happen. One way is that the people of Iraq, close to him, could decide that he's no longer of value to the country, which would be the understatement of the morning. He could decide it's time to leave, and he'd prefer to stay alive and find a way to escape. There will be Iraqis that will surrender. There will be Iraqis that offer to help us. There will be Iraqis who offer not only to help us, but to help liberate the country and to free the Iraqi people. The more of them there are, and the greater the chance that the war will be limited and less broad. The fewer there are, the risk that it will be broader and more difficult, take more time, and more lives will be lost.
Mr. Secretary, what evidence do you have? What evidence do you have that it's actually working? That there are actually Iraqis who are heeding this call to...
We have evidence.
And what sort of evidence is that?
Good evidence. Yes.
Do you have reason to believe that Saddam Hussein was at the compound that was struck last night, or his sons, for that matter?
We had what I would characterize as very good intelligence that it was a senior Iraqi leadership compound. We do not know what the battle damage assessment will be when that type of information is available to us. And I'll leave it right there. Pam?
Mr. Secretary, at about the same time that this strike began in Iraq, there was a new assault launched in southern Afghanistan involving several thousand troops from the 82nd Airborne. Is that a coincidence, or is that an intentional message to show that this war in Iraq is not taking away any attention from the war against al-Qaeda?
Well, I don't know that I'd say there's a connection. It isn't taking anything away from the war against al-Qaeda, and indeed the pressure will be helpful because there have been and are al-Qaeda in that country.
It is a separate operation. It is not connected, and would have been coincidence.
Mr. Secretary, General Myers.
Mr. Secretary,
could you tell us...
We're going to have this question, and then your question, and then that'll be it.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, do you believe, in fact, that the man on the tape that was run on Iraqi TV last night was, in fact, Saddam Hussein?
There's debate about that.
Have you seen any indication that his son, Uday, has taken control of the country?
No.
Mr. Secretary, at the White House last night, a senior White House official, after the president spoke, said that the decision to make the strike was made sometime between 6:30 and 7 o'clock Eastern Time. It's apparent that that decision to strike was not in line with what we have been led to believe about the war plan. Was the intelligence you got fragile enough where you felt you had to go at that moment and not start with, say, shock and awe or some other phase of the war?
Well, Dick, calibrate me, but the first thing I'd say is I don't believe you have the war plan. A fact which does not make me unhappy. Second, any war plan reflects the reality that one would take opportunities that present themselves, and certainly there's no war. A war plan is something that is a plan that's developed before things start, and the minute things start, one has to take account of the realities that you find in the world, and that is what was done last evening. That is what will be done today and tomorrow and the next day, and to not do that would be a terrible mistake.
Having intel agencies and armed forces that are flexible is key to victory, and that's what you saw.
I really wasn't kidding when I said I think that'll be the last question. Let me just make a comment. I did not answer a question as fully as I might have about do we have evidence that it's working. I often try to put myself in other people's shoes and ask myself, in this case, for example, an Iraqi citizen or Iraqi army soldier or an Iraqi officer or even a special Republican Guard official or even people closer to Saddam Hussein. What they have to be seeing is a good deal of evidence that the Iraqi people want to be liberated. We see a great deal of evidence of that. It's a natural human tendency for people that have been brutally repressed. It manifests itself in a host of ways. We see evidence of military personnel. Some have already surrendered in Kuwait. We are in communication with still more people who are officials of the military at various levels. The regular army, the Republican Guard, the Special Republican Guard, who are increasingly aware that it's going to happen, he's going to be gone, and what they are probably doing. I can't do this perfectly, but as I try to put myself in their shoes, they have to be fearful of that regime, because that regime kills people every day to enforce obedience and discipline. So they have to be fearful of the regime. On the other hand, once they are persuaded that that regime is history, it is going, it will not be there. In some reasonably finite period of time, they will be gone. Then their behavior begins to tip and change. And when I said we have good evidence, we have not only good evidence, but we have broad and deep evidence that suggests that there are people going through that decision-making process throughout that country today, and that is a good thing. Thank you very much.
Have there been any coalition casualties, sir?
Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Richard Myers, in their first briefing to the press, the Secretary of Defense especially was addressing not only the American people and the Pentagon press corps, but he was aiming his remarks directly at the Iraqi people and especially at members of the Iraqi armed forces, especially the leadership, saying to them, do not follow orders, do not destroy the oil fields or flood the fields of Iraq. That would be a crime against your own country. Listen to the radio broadcast, and the United States now has a special transmission overhead in Iraq. We think that they're able to override the Iraqi signals and get their message directly to the people who do have radios and television. He said, listen to the instructions, and especially, he said, stay in Iraq. They're very worried about having a refugee crisis spilling out across the borders. He said Iraq belongs to the Iraqi people, and the power should be in the hands of the Iraqi people. He also talked emphatically about the coalition, saying this is an international effort, 35 nations altogether. He claimed that they all have a very serious part in this effort. But the fact is that the United States is leading this attack, and today the criticism of the United States attack in Iraq continues, especially from France, from Germany, from Russia. On the other hand, there have been expressions of support from Japan, South Korea, Czechoslovakia, and Bulgaria, as well as the United Kingdom, where Tony Blair has been the president's strongest supporter. Canada falls somewhere in the middle. The Prime Minister Chrétien saying today that he hopes the war is over in a short time. 3 or 4 oil fields may be on fire. That's Secretary of Defense assessment of what the reports that they've been getting. That would be down in the south. There is a big oil field called Ramallah, and that's a pipeline area, and as you can see, Ramallah is the oil refinery there. That could have been set on fire as well, but we simply don't know. An intriguing question: was Saddam Hussein hit last night in what was described as an attack on the leadership bunker? There have been analyses going on all day. We're going to ask NBC's Andrea Mitchell to join us now. Andrea, what are they thinking at this hour, now some 14 hours after the strike against that leadership bunker?
Tom, you heard Secretary Rumsfeld say there is debate over that, and indeed there is. Intelligence experts are trying to use voice print technology, as they have on Osama bin Laden, to see if that was the real Saddam Hussein. One issue is, was it tape? They do believe it was tape. It was not a live appearance. They noted a freeze frame and did not think that that was satellite transmission. They think it was pre-taped in some fashion. The other question is, of course, was it pre-taped before the attack or after the attack? You can see there Saddam Hussein in a recent appearance, and on the right, Saddam Hussein last night in an unusual method of appearing before the Iraqi public in glasses. We've never seen him before that way. Neither have U.S. intelligence. And reading from a steno pad in what appeared to be a very ad-libbed or hastily scripted appearance. Usually he reads off of a teleprompter. That would be consistent with his hastily appearing to reassure his generals, his military, and the people that he is still very much in power, or it could be a body double or a pre-taped appearance of some fashion. So they did mention that if you look at the text, and they're analyzing that obviously, that he mentions the date, March 20th, and refers to a dawn raid by what he calls the Little Bush, in his contemptuous way of trying to demean President Bush. But that also could be, they suggest, that he taped several appearances before this attack, knowing, for instance, that March 20th was the date when the 48-hour deadline would expire. So there are all sorts of scenarios here. It is more likely that it was Saddam Hussein, but they say they are not ruling out that this was a body double, and that, in fact, there is the possibility that they got him. Also, they're also stressing, top U.S. officials, that he was not the only target. They were also looking for top members of his regime, including, most likely, his son, Qusay. Tom?
Right. Thank you very much, NBC's Andrea Mitchell. I was watching last night when the various Iraqi officials appeared. One of them is the Minister of Culture, who appeared with the Minister of Information. The Minister of Culture is one of Saddam Hussein's very closest friends. He appeared after the attack on the leadership bunker as well on television. He does not have a body double, and he is an important part of the leadership. Let's go to our generals now and our experts and talk about the plan of attack. Monty Miggs, give me a quick assessment of what you heard from both the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the secretary today.
Sir, I just think we got to wait for the next shoe to drop in the step that this goes. We know about everything that that we're going to get at this point. I think the ground campaign will start much sooner than with a 38-day lag, and I think we're going to be surprised by how quickly they're going to push it.
We're going to show the road to Baghdad, and as we do that, I'm going to also share some news with you from the New York Times website. John Kipner, who's one of their very best reporters in that part of the world, said first reported combat engagement of the United States with Iraq occurred at 3:57 local time today. That would be in the afternoon. So that's about 10 this morning New York time, when a patrol of light armored vehicles from the Marine 1st Division took out 2 Iraqi armored personnel carriers south of the border with Iraq. Also, we do know that Iraq fired 4 missiles at Kuwait. We're told that a Patriot battery shot down 2. Another one landed in the desert, but air raid sirens didn't sound. General Mike Short, the Air Force view of what we just heard.
I thought a strong message from the Secretary of Defense and from Dick Myers, and they stayed on message. Just a couple of things, if I could. He said to their leadership, this was our first attack on leadership compounds, will not be our last. They're placed on warning. He said to the world, this is not a repeat of other conflicts. You're going to see something different. A great message to the Iraqi military. Act with honor. You will live and have a place in a free Iraq. And one more thing that really got my attention, and General Meigs and I have talked about before, when the Secretary said he had tried to put himself in the shoes of Iraqis. History is covered, Tom, with examples of men who thought they understood how their adversary thought. I can remember sitting with my senior staff and saying, this is how I think the Serb surface-to-air missile troops will respond. What do you guys think? Oh, yes, sir, we agree. Next issue. They didn't respond the way we thought because they don't think the way we think. You have to watch it when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, because the adversary does not think the way we do.
All right, but plainly we're flooding those messages into Iraq.
Absolutely.
We've got control of some radio frequencies, some television frequencies as well, to say nothing of what 7 million leaflets that have been dropped. And you can only wonder what they're saying in the ranks of the Iraqi military to each other out of the earshot of Saddam Hussein.
I think the young conscripts are in a panic. And I would not be surprised, Tom, if these 2 armored personnel carriers that were killed as they crossed the border might have been young Iraqis fleeing for their lives. Right. And we took them out because we were being conservative at this point. Why would they have crossed the border into Kuwait?
All right, thanks very much, General Michael Short and General Monty Miggs. That's the report from here. From now, of course, we'll have continuing coverage throughout the day, and we're going to take you back to the Today Show now. Katie Couric and Matt Lauer. Katie and Matt.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. I'm Katie Couric here at Studio 1A in New York, and my colleague Matt Lauer is at CENTCOM headquarters in Qatar, which of course is the nerve center or the operational coordinator for all branches of the military involved in Operation Iraqi Freedom, led by General Tommy Franks. Matt, tell me what the men and women at CENTCOM are busy doing right now. Are they sort of wrapping things up for the day? What's the mood there?
You know, this isn't a typical military base in that sense, Katie, and that most of the troops we're exposed to are troops that are assigned to handle us. They're assigned to handle the media. The rest of the troops that are here are support personnel for JOC, or the Joint Operations Center, and those people are hard at work. Their job, they work in 12-hour shifts in the JOC Center, so they are working right now all through the night, and as you know, the night is a busy time. I couldn't help but listen to that briefing, Katie, and think about the frustration that must be present in that room, because you and I spoke about the fact that they were very confident, military planners, that they could prevent Saddam Hussein and the Iraqi forces from igniting those oil facilities in the south part of Iraq. And as it turns now, because of that attack last night coming before the awe-inspiring attack that they had planned, Iraq had time to get to those oil refineries or those oil facilities and reportedly set 3, possibly 4 on fire, Katie.
And is that what you're hearing, Matt? Because as we heard, Secretary Rumsfeld said that they were looking for more intelligence on the ground to determine if they had, in fact, been set. But from people there, they believe that to be the case, that these 4 oil fields or refineries have been deliberately set?
It is the feeling here, and to be quite honest, Katie, we have to be careful because we are sitting in the midst of media madness here. Nothing but media people. So when one person says something here, it spreads like wildfire. And of course, Secretary Rumsfeld and General Myers both said they do not have conclusive evidence of that right now, but it is what we're hearing here at CENTCOM.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. We'll check in with you in just a moment. Meanwhile, NBC's Jim Miklaszewski was at this morning's Pentagon briefing. He joins us from the Pentagon. Mick, good morning.
Hi, Katie.
So tell me what your takeaway from that briefing was.
Well, you know, I was particularly struck once again about the emphasis that Secretary Rumsfeld put on using Iraqi nationals themselves. For the first time, he revealed that the U.S. is, in fact, in direct contact with leadership in the regular Iraqi military, the Republican Guard, even the Special Republican Guard, and those are supposed to be the most elite troops closest to Saddam Hussein. Now, there's certainly a method to what Secretary Rumsfeld was talking about here today. First of all, it has been a goal for some time to get people from within the regime to overturn Saddam Hussein, take him out, take him into custody, and allow simply U.S. troops to walk in to help them assist in rebuilding an Iraqi government. So obviously, this is somewhat wishful thinking. Now, he claimed to have good evidence that since the airstrikes have begun, that there are new cracks in this regime. But there's another aspect to this. It also plants seeds of doubts in the mind of Saddam Hussein. If, in fact, he's still alive, or those close to him are still alive, and they're looking at each other and wondering, well, are you the one talking to the United States government? We may have been involved in a little bit of psychological warfare here on the part of Secretary Rumsfeld, or simply more wishful thinking, Katie.
So, Mick, what they're hoping for is not only some kind of coup d'etat, if you will, but also massive defections from the Iraqi military itself. As of last night, we heard that 17 troops had surrendered. Have you gotten any more updated numbers on the number of defections so far?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, somebody told us rather disappointingly today that we don't have the kind of massive defections that perhaps we expected. But then again, they believe that if the fighting should start in earnest, that you would see more of that. We know for a fact that, according to officials anyway, here at the Pentagon, that there have been serious negotiations with at least 2 large divisions of regular Iraqi forces in the south, and the feeling is that once the shooting starts, in terms of a ground invasion, that you would see these massive defections. And one of the big problems they're concerned with is huge numbers of POWs, Katie.
When it comes to the ground war, Mick, you know, you were talking earlier about these 4 oil fields or refineries being ignited. How, if that turns out to be the case, how problematic will that be for ground forces as they move into Iraq?
Well, it was thought that one of the priorities, as Matt mentioned, is that ground forces, whether they be special operations forces or regular troops, would try to secure those oil fields as quickly as possible. Over the last several days, there was increased intelligence indicating that these oil wells had been rigged with explosives. The oil fields themselves had been mined to prevent U.S. troops from coming in, and even the fact that safety valves had been removed from some of the pipelines so that oil would quickly gush out into the desert that could be ignited to impede the progress of troops. So this could be very problematic. The fact, however, that you're only hearing about perhaps small numbers of oil wells. Out of 1,500 oil wells in the country, 4 would be insignificant, but it's not a very good harbinger of possible things to come.
All right, Jim Miklashevsky at the Pentagon. Mick, thanks so much.
Okay, Katie.
Now let's go to the White House and NBC's David Gregory. David, good morning.
Good morning to you, Katie.
Tell me what's going on there. What's the president's schedule today?
Well, he'll be making phone calls to foreign leaders as he started to do yesterday to inform them about what is coming and to also get counsel from and offer counsel to other members of this coalition of the willing. You heard Secretary Rumsfeld say that there will be in excess of 35 countries involved. White House officials saying that some of those additional countries may become known later on in the day. So there is a form of diplomacy that continues as the White House wants to convince the American people that this is not an action that is being taken by the United States alone. I think what's significant also, Katie, about what we have seen so far this morning is that the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs will become the primary vessels of information. The President has spoken. Officials say we don't expect to hear from him anytime soon.
All right. David Gregory at the White House. David, as always, thanks so much. And now it's time for a check of the weather from Mr. Roker, because the war may be happening, but the weather goes on.
Yes, it does. And as we take a look and show you what's happening in the Middle East, we've got 61 degrees in Baghdad, but Kuwait City about 10 degrees warmer. Weak cold front moving through there, bringing a few showers to the north. Some rain there, areas of blowing sand later this evening, on into tomorrow in central and southern Iraq. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, everybody. It is a Thursday morning, and our Northwest Sky Cam out of flight craft at PDX is showing partly cloudy skies this morning. In those clouds, though, we will see some showers. Jetstream right here is pulling a pretty good little system on shore for some showers this morning, even a few sun breaks. Much stronger system, though, races on shore, and that'll be late tonight. So our forecast for Thursday, showers with occasional sun breaks. Some of those showers could be heavy at times by midday. Our daytime high reaching 56.
Now back to Katie.
Thank you so much, Al. More from Qatar and New York in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
Designer Week at Ross, featuring the latest arrivals for spring. The top designer brands for men, women, and kids. Save 40 to 65% compared to department stores. Designer Week at Ross. There's no comparison.
Morty's always been very inflexible about his side of the sleep number bed.
I jumped into bed. It was on 45. I loved it. Why experiment?
I've always been somewhat of a daredevil. I like to try different things.
41 day, 25 the next.
I like spontaneity.
It's a bed. It's comfortable at 45. What's so spontaneous about a bed?
That's my Morty.
A sleep number is the key to a perfect night's sleep. Find your sleep number at a select comfort store.
Pretty intense, isn't it? For in-your-face home theater action, come to Best Buy. From Sony Plasma TVs to Bose surround sound, we'll help find the system that's right for you. Get into the action at Best Buy.
Just a few minutes ago, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld said when the war with Iraq is over, its regime will be replaced with a government that will not threaten its neighbors. NBC analyst Rachel Bronson is the director of Middle East Studies for the Council on Foreign Relations and is an expert on post-Saddam Iraq. Rachel, welcome back. We were talking a bit earlier about how now the United States perhaps needs to, following the military stage of the conflict, enlist the help of the United Nations once again. Will it be able to do that since it has certainly alienated the UN through its diplomatic maneuverings?
The question of will it be able to is exactly the right one, because it is in the United States' interest and the interest of the Iraqis for us to go back to the UN. Now, there's a lot of acrimony right now. Certainly the mood in Washington is very sour towards the UN, but this is well within our interest to do because we want to transition this to someone. Also, the Iraqis will need us to transition this. From what I've been hearing from Iraqis, this is very important that it not look like an American invasion. Their families remember the British colonial experience, and there's stories about this. And so the idea of how we transition and can we transition will be very important for us, will be very important to them. I also suspect it will be very important to the Europeans and others at the UN.
And I know that you've stated before, it's critical that Iraq turns into the kind of country the Iraqis want, even more than the kind of country the United States envisions. So there are ways to help facilitate that, and one is to let the Iraqis continue to run their oil industry.
Absolutely. The Iraq oil industry is important for two reasons. One is that this is the resource of the Iraqi people, and Secretary Rumsfeld made that point. But the other is the world thinks this is about oil. It's not, but they think it. To the extent to which we can quickly turn power back to the Iraqis, it will show the lie of that kind of logic. The Iraqi people who work in the Iraqi oil industry are well regarded by most of their colleagues around the world. They were able to maintain an impressive infrastructure given sanctions and with this maniacal political leadership. They are capable of running it. We've heard some sort of crazy talk about the fact that we're going to run this. It is in our interest to make sure the Iraqis run this.
You have also stated that the United Nations actually excels when it comes to humanitarian crises, and that it would behoove the United States to allow the UN to basically do what it does best.
That's right. And the challenge is the American military actually does this well too. And in the first few days, probably nobody does it better. But for a long, sustained humanitarian effort, the United Nations oversees an enormous number of organizations that have a very important role to play in this. And it's more likely that non-governmental organizations will go quickly into Iraq if it's under a UN cover rather than a U.S. cover, because many of these organizations are non-political. They don't want to be part of an occupation force. They can be part of an international effort. We're more likely to get them going in faster if we can shift responsibility elsewhere.
We talked earlier, Rachel, about some of the Bush administration's diplomatic faux pas, if you will. Having said that, what does the administration need to do to reach out to a number of these countries? I was looking at global reaction to the U.S. attack. China calls for an immediate halt. The European Union President Greece said that relations between Europe and the U.S. were in crisis after Washington launched the war. Chirac, not surprisingly, critical of the invasion. Germany said it was dismayed by the start of the U.S.-led military campaign. India, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the Vatican, all these countries obviously need to be reached out to. How can the United States do that?
We're going to have to fight this war now and focus on that, but there's got to be a voice in the administration who continues to talk about the humanitarian needs, what the Iraqi people need, how others can be brought along. And I think the focus on the humanitarian aspect of it will bring a lot of countries in. But what we cannot do is to continue to alienate countries. We have to be very careful. We've sort of lost the first battle at the UN. We need to move on. We don't want to continue to poke at potential partners for the future.
And do you think that the president's involvement in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, saying that he will support the new Palestinian prime minister and get more involved, is enough to basically temper Arab anger and resentment toward the United States?
No.
At least a start?
No, the timing of it seems very instrumental, and I think he's going to have to start putting actions behind some of his words.
All right, Rachel Bronson, thanks so much for your time this morning. Appreciate your perspective. Meanwhile, we're looking at a live shot of Baghdad right now where night has fallen. And up next, Operation Iraqi Freedom. How did we get here in the first place? This is Today on NBC.
My name's Nancy. Only months ago, I thought my world was ending. My son was rushed to the hospital with a head injury. We tried to find a neurosurgeon to help him, but lawsuit abuse by personal injury lawyers had made it too expensive for them to treat children. My son recovered, but how many children will not get the care they need before Congress changes the law? Call your senators. Tell them to stop supporting personal injury lawyers and to support medical liability reform now.
Is your existing auto loan slowing you down? Being held back by high monthly payments? Cut loose with a 4.83% APR convertible loan from Oregon Telco Community Credit Union. We'll convert your loan from another lender to this low rate. All vehicles with less than 24,000 miles qualify. Convert your higher mileage vehicle loan to a rate as low as 5.83% APR. Cut monthly payments when you drive home a convertible loan from Oregon Telco Community Credit Union. Your answer for better banking.
Fact. Wix Furniture has great-looking living rooms at low prices every day. Great value by the piece, unbeatable savings by the room. Like this wash denim sofa, just $6.99. Or get sofa love seat and 3 tables, just $17.99. This plush sofa is $6.99, only $18.99 for the 5-piece package. Or choose this classic tone-on-tone sofa, $5.49. $12.99 for the package, with just 10% down, no payments and no interest till September 2004. Now at Wix Furniture.
What did you have for dinner?
Last night, I had an industrial-sized vat of taco chips.
I had 3-day-old cold pizza.
I licked the frosting off an empty box of donuts. I had sesame chicken and a tangy plum sauce with sesame noodles, red peppers, and crisp green beans. It was one of those new Asian-style dinners from Lean Cuisine.
Do something good for yourself with new Asian-style cuisine. It's not just lean, it's cuisine.
Night has come to Baghdad at nearly 8 o'clock local time in Baghdad, and with it, uneasiness for the people who live in that city. Of course, they remember it was just last night that the first U.S. military attacks took place at a home where Saddam Hussein and top military leaders were believed to have been meeting. Those attacks coming with cruise missiles, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and F-117A stealth fighters. And, of course, night has come here to Camp Asaliya in Doha, Qatar, where the Joint Operations Center is probably in full swing right now. We have no access to that room. It has been sealed off for some time. What's going on in there is considered top secret. We want to join now Chip Reed, NBC's Chip Reed, who's with the 1st Marine Division. They are in northern Kuwait, and Chip joins us on the phone. Chip, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that we were in a news blackout all day long, and that blackout was lifted about 20 minutes ago when we started roaring toward the border with Iraq. And we now have authority to say that we are doing just that. We have been moving through the desert at about 25 miles an hour. We are not free to say exactly when we're crossing the border or where we're crossing it or where we're going in Iraq or what the military mission is. But suffice it to say, we are moving a large amount of military power toward Iraq here. I can see in the just vaguely in the night sky, two columns of these armored assault vehicles. We have taken a brief stop right now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a traffic jam up ahead, as there often is when you have these big military convoys. But it is nighttime here. I would say it's pitch black, except it's really pitch gray because the air is just filled with the dust. You can taste it and smell it, the dust that is stirred up by these monster vehicles as they roar through this desert. So there isn't much more I can tell you right now because of the limits that we have as embedded journalists with the military. But I am crammed into an armored assault vehicle right now with 17 Marines who are all pretty heavily armed and ready to do whatever mission it is that lies ahead of them. Matt?
All right, Chip Reed with the 1st Marine Division moving, as he said, on the move in northern Kuwait, headed toward the Iraqi border. We're going to have much more in a special edition of Today from Qatar and from New York and from correspondents all around the region. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Each year, a farm in Oregon is transformed into one of the most colorful in America. The Iverson family invites you to the annual Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival near Woodburn. Enjoy acres of blooming tulips, fresh-cut flowers, a gift shop, and more. Don't miss the Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival.
I wanted something to give me my new life, and I got it. 78 pounds later, you can't even begin to describe how it was when you first went in there because you feel fabulous.
LA Weight Loss. Losing weight has never been this easy.
You eat a lot in the beginning, and you think, there's no way I'm losing weight. And you get on the scale, and it goes down. LA Weight Loss did it for me.
5 Portland and Vancouver area locations. 1-800-LA6-SLIM.
All right, Michelle. How are you feeling at this moment?
Happy?
Are you really feeling happy?
Yes, I feel happy.
Okay. And when are you going to come see me again?
At 3,000 miles for my first free oil change?
Great. Here are the keys. Your car's ready to go.
Russ Auto Group lives for happy customers. That's why we offer free oil changes for the life of their cars. You should own a car the Russ way.
Each year, a farm in Oregon is transformed into one of the most colorful in America. The Iverson family invites you to the annual Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival near Woodburn. Enjoy acres of blooming tulips, fresh-cut flowers, a gift shop, and more. Don't miss the Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival.
Join America's largest family during Chrysler's National Minivan event, where the best-selling minivan family meets America's best value. Get 0% financing up to 60 months on the luxurious Town & Country, or cash allowances as high as $3,500. Plus our exclusive powertrain limited warranty. It's the ultimate minivan value. No wonder there have been 10 million on the road and counting. So hurry to the National Minivan event today. Great minivans, a great warranty, and great deals all add up to the best values in America.
This is a News Channel 8 update.
Good morning, everyone. It's 8:56, currently 48 degrees here in downtown Portland. I'm Brenda Braxton along with James Ray. A group of anti-war protesters plans to shut down Portland businesses today. They say it's because President Bush didn't respond to messages from their peaceful protests. Police have stepped up security for this downtown event. They say demonstrators have the right to speak out, but they don't have the right to stop people from trying to move around the city. That protest is planned for 4 o'clock this afternoon. There's also another gathering planned at 4 o'clock. People in support of the war or in support of our troops or both will meet at Waterfront Park. Right now, some American Muslims are worried about a backlash in Portland. The chief of police and others are reaching out to that community. Last night at an interfaith service, a Christian pastor shared the pulpit with the leader of a Beaverton mosque. And yesterday afternoon, Chief Mark Croker called an emergency meeting with representatives of the Muslim community. Well, we are just hours away from the start of spring, and Dave Selesky has a look at our forecast. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, James. Spring officially starts at 5 o'clock this afternoon. We will see a mixture of some showers and some sun breaks today. Jet stream right here, nice onshore flow, so what is ever off in the Pacific Ocean will be pushed onshore by the jet. And we will see some scattered showers around the area. Some of them could be heavy at times by midday. Then tonight, a stronger system makes its way onshore, and that'll produce rain late tonight and through all day tomorrow on Friday. Here's the forecast for you for the day. Showers and occasional sun breaks. Southwest winds 5 to 15. Tonight, showers early, becoming rain late tonight. Our forecast high is going to reach 56, and on the extended forecast, rain on and off for the rest of the week. Brenda and James, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Dave. That's all for now, but we'll be back at 9:26 with another local news update. Have a good morning.
The moment I wake up, I reach for my smiley face cup and get a little call from you. Forever and ever, you'll be in my fridge and I will drink you. Forever and ever, together we live to be without you. Would mean boring black coffee for me.
International delight in the curvy new bottle. Right now, save on selected Simmons plush, firm, and extra firm mattresses. Get interest-free financing and a great deal on Simmons.
Why buy a mattress anywhere else? Hey! That thing got a Hemi, right? Yeah! Well, now I got a Hemi, too. But I got something you don't got. Check this out.
Dodge Ram 1500. The Hemi legend continues. Grab Dodge's 770 powertrain limited warranty, plus 0% financing or $2,500 cash allowance. Ford, Chevy, and Toyota don't match this.
Let me guess, stuffed French toast down at IHOP.
Yeah. Now at IHOP, it's stuffed French toast. Creamy, fruity, and served with your favorites starting at $4.99. Everybody's packing in just to get a taste. IHOP. Come hungry, leave happy.
News Channel 8, your official station of fun, is coming to your community this spring and summer. We're kicking things off with a special announcement Saturday morning between 7 and 9. Don't miss it.
And we are back with a special edition of Today on this Thursday morning, the 20th of March, 2003. The war has begun. U.S. missiles and fighter jets attacking Baghdad overnight. Iraq has fired missiles back into Kuwait. Saddam responding on television, but officials in the United States are questioning whether that proves that Saddam Hussein actually survived last night's bombing. I am Matt Lauer here at Central Command in Doha, Qatar, the site of the JOC, or Joint Operational Center, commanded over by General Tommy Franks. Katie's back in New York, and she's got the latest from there. Katie, good morning again.
Hey, good morning to you, Matt. Well, here is the very latest. That BDA bomb damage assessment from the first round of bombings in Baghdad from the Pentagon is still pending. There are as many as 4 oil fires burning in southern Iraq. Presumably, they were deliberately set, but that has not been confirmed yet. And according to the New York Times, the Marine 1st Division destroyed 2 Iraqi armored vehicles just south of the Iraqi border early this morning. And Turkey has approved permission for the U.S. to use its airspace for attacks on Iraq. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Richard Myers briefed reporters at the Pentagon just a few minutes ago. Jim Miklaszewski, NBC's own Pentagon correspondent, attended that briefing. Mick, good morning.
Good morning, Katie.
All right, so let's basically talk about the highlights. I thought it was interesting that during the first big chunk of the briefing, Donald Rumsfeld was really talking to the Iraqi military and the Iraqi people directly.
There is clearly hope within the Bush administration and certainly here at the Pentagon that a regime change can be achieved, that Saddam Hussein will be tossed out of power there in Baghdad without U.S. military ground forces firing a single shot. I think you can detect almost a certain amount of disappointment that the airstrikes last night didn't achieve that objective, that it didn't plant enough doubt among the Baghdad military regime there that would have them rise up and take control of wrest control of the government from Saddam Hussein. It's still unclear just how many defections there have been. One Pentagon official almost disappointingly said, well, so far we haven't seen the kind of mass defections we expected, but another ranking U.S. military official said they didn't expect to see that really until the Iraqi and the U.S. military forces sort of butt heads, which could happen sometime here very quickly. But at the same time, you know, we're talking now about the airstrikes against Baghdad, about the missiles being lobbed across the border in small numbers into Kuwait. But after last night's airstrikes, the Pentagon pretty much went back to one of its original plans. So as of today, you can bet that there are any number of U.S. military forces on the ground inside Baghdad, many of them operating covertly out of sight to achieve some initial objectives, such as seize airfields to soft...